Have you noticed that walking isn't as easy as it used to be? Maybe you've caught yourself drifting to one side while walking down the hallway. Maybe you felt unsteady when getting out of bed, climbing stairs, or simply crossing a parking lot. And perhaps you've started wondering something that many people over 70 quietly ask themselves but rarely say out loud: why can't I walk straight anymore? If that's happening to you or someone you love, stay with me because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you think about aging. Most people assume that losing balance and walking unsteadily is just a normal part of getting older. They believe that once you pass 70, it's inevitable. They think it's something they simply have to accept. But what if I told you that's not entirely true? What if the real reason you're struggling to walk straight has very little to do with age itself? And what if the solution isn't another medication, another expensive gadget, or another doctor's visit where you're told, well, that's just aging? Today we're going to uncover the hidden reasons why so many seniors lose their ability to walk confidently after 70. More importantly, we're going to talk about the real fixes that almost nobody discusses. These are practical, science-backed insights that can help you regain confidence, stability, and independence. And I have to tell you, the final reason might be the most surprising of all, because it's something that affects millions of older adults every single day without them even realizing it. So let's dive in. The first thing you need to understand is that walking is actually one of the most complicated activities your body performs. It feels simple because you've been doing it for decades, but every step requires your brain, eyes, inner ears, muscles, joints, nerves, and even your feet to communicate perfectly with one another. Think about that for a moment. Every time you take a step, thousands of signals travel through your nervous system in fractions of a second. Your brain constantly calculates where your body is in space. Your eyes monitor your surroundings. Your inner ears detect movement and position. Your muscles adjust to keep you upright. When all those systems work together, walking feels effortless. But after 70, even a small problem in one of those systems can begin creating noticeable changes in your gait. One of the biggest culprits is muscle loss. Most people don't realize that adults begin losing muscle mass as early as their 30s. The process speeds up dramatically after age 60. By the time many people reach their 70s, they've lost a significant amount of strength, especially in their legs and hips. Now here's where things get interesting. When your hip muscles weaken, your body struggles to keep your pelvis stable while walking. This can cause you to sway from side to side. It can make you feel like you're veering off course. Some people even notice that friends or family members comment that they're walking differently. The scary part is that many seniors don't notice the change until it becomes significant. It happens gradually. A little less strength this year. A little less balance next year. A little more caution after that. Then one day they realize they don't feel steady anymore. But weakness isn't the only issue. There's another hidden factor that many people never hear about. Your feet. Think about your feet for a second. They are the foundation of your entire body. Yet most people pay almost no attention to them until they hurt. As we age, the bottoms of our feet often become less sensitive. The nerves that provide information to the brain may not function as effectively as they once did. Why does that matter? Because your brain relies on feedback from your feet to understand where your body is positioned. Imagine trying to walk across a room while wearing thick gloves on your feet. You'd lose some of that important sensory information. That's similar to what many seniors experience without realizing it. The brain receives less accurate information, making balance more challenging. This is one reason some people feel more unstable when walking on grass, gravel, carpets, or uneven surfaces. The body simply isn't receiving the same quality information it once did. And then there's something even more surprising. Vision. Most people think vision is only about seeing clearly. But vision plays a massive role in balance. Your eyes constantly provide information about movement, distance, obstacles, and direction. When vision declines, balance often declines too. Even subtle changes can have a significant impact. This is why some seniors notice that they feel less steady at night or in dimly lit environments. Their brain suddenly loses one of its most important sources of information. The result can be hesitation, instability, and increased risk of falling. Now let's talk about something that rarely gets enough attention: the inner ear. Inside each ear is a remarkable balance system known as the vestibular system. It's like your body's built-in GPS. It helps your brain understand whether you're moving, turning, standing still, or changing position. As we age, this system can become less efficient. When that happens, you may feel off balance even when nothing appears wrong. Some people describe it as feeling slightly dizzy. Others say they feel disconnected from their surroundings. Some notice they can't walk in a straight line as easily as they once could. What's fascinating is that many older adults assume the problem is in their legs when the issue may actually be originating in their inner ears. And unfortunately, vestibular problems often go undiagnosed for years. But perhaps one of the most overlooked causes of walking difficulties after 70 is something called proprioception. That's a big word for a simple concept. Proprioception is your body's awareness of where it is in space. Close your eyes for a moment and touch your nose. You can probably do it easily. How? Because your brain knows where your hand is even without looking. That's proprioception. As we age, this ability can decline. The brain becomes less accurate at sensing body position. As a result, walking may feel less natural. Movements may become slower and more cautious. Balance may become less reliable. And walking in a straight line can become increasingly difficult. Now here's where many people make a critical mistake. They assume the solution is simply to walk less. They become more cautious. They avoid stairs. They avoid long walks. They avoid challenging environments. At first, this seems logical, but in reality, it often makes the problem worse. The less you move, the weaker your muscles become. The weaker your muscles become, the harder walking gets. The harder walking gets, the less active you become. And before long, you're trapped in a cycle that gradually steals your independence. This cycle affects millions of seniors. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because nobody explained what was really happening. Now here's some good news. The human body is remarkably adaptable. Even after age 70, even after age 80, even after age 90. Research continues showing that older adults can improve strength, balance, coordination, and mobility when given the right stimulus. In other words, your body is probably far more capable of improvement than you've been led to believe. I've seen stories of individuals who thought their best years of movement were behind them. They believed they were destined to become increasingly unsteady. Yet after focusing on specific exercises and daily habits, they regained confidence they hadn't felt in years. Not because they became younger, but because they addressed the real causes of the problem. One of the simplest and most effective approaches involves strengthening the hips. Remember those hip muscles we talked about earlier? They play a huge role in stabilizing your body while walking. Weak hips can cause wobbling, drifting, and instability. Stronger hips often lead to smoother, more confident movement. And the beauty is that many hip strengthening exercises require little or no equipment. Simple side leg raises, standing marches, chair-assisted movements. These exercises may look easy, but they can produce powerful results when performed consistently. Another important piece of the puzzle is balance training. Now, when some people hear the phrase balance training, they imagine standing on one foot like a gymnast. That's not what we're talking about. Balance training can be as simple as standing near a sturdy chair and practicing controlled weight shifts. It can involve carefully improving your body's awareness of movement and position. Over time, these exercises teach the brain and body to work together more effectively. And that's exactly what walking requires. There's another factor that deserves attention because it catches many seniors by surprise. Reaction time. As we age, our reactions naturally slow down. This means that when we trip, stumble, or encounter an obstacle, it may take longer to respond. A younger person might recover instantly. An older person may not. This doesn't mean falls are inevitable. It simply means reaction training becomes increasingly important. Exercises that challenge coordination and movement can help maintain these critical skills. And perhaps most importantly, they help preserve confidence. Because confidence matters more than many people realize. If you've ever experienced a fall, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes the physical injury heals faster than the fear. After a fall, many people become afraid of falling again. That fear changes how they move. They take shorter steps. They walk more cautiously. They tense their muscles. Ironically, these changes can sometimes increase instability. Fear begins affecting movement itself. That's why addressing confidence is just as important as addressing strength and balance. The goal isn't simply to avoid falling. The goal is to feel capable, to feel secure, to trust your body again. And that brings us to another hidden issue that almost nobody discusses. Many medications can affect balance. Blood pressure medications, sleep aids, certain anxiety medications, and even some over-the-counter products may contribute to dizziness or instability in certain individuals. This doesn't mean you should stop taking any medication. Absolutely not. But it does mean that if you've noticed changes in your balance, it's worth having a conversation with your healthcare provider about whether medications could be playing a role. Sometimes small adjustments can make a significant difference. And sometimes people spend years blaming age when medication side effects are contributing to the problem. The key takeaway is this. Walking difficulties after 70 are rarely caused by just one thing. They're usually the result of several factors working together. A little muscle loss, a little balance decline, a little sensory change, a little fear, a little inactivity. Over time, these small changes add up. But here's the encouraging part. Small improvements also add up, and often much faster than people expect. Think about it this way: you didn't lose your balance overnight. You didn't suddenly wake up one morning and find that walking had become difficult. The changes happened gradually over years, and because they happened gradually, many of them can be improved gradually too. One of the biggest myths surrounding aging is that physical decline is a one-way street. People often believe that once strength disappears, it's gone forever. Once balance worsens, it can never improve. Once walking becomes difficult, there's no turning back. But that belief simply doesn't match what researchers continue to discover. The human body remains adaptable throughout life. Your muscles can still respond to exercise. Your nervous system can still learn. Your brain can still create new movement patterns. Your balance systems can still become more efficient. In fact, one of the most remarkable findings in aging research is that many adults in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s are capable of making meaningful improvements in mobility when they train consistently. The problem is that most people never receive the right information. Instead, they're told to be careful, to slow down, to avoid risk, to accept the changes. And while caution has its place, excessive caution can quietly become a trap. Imagine someone who feels slightly unsteady while walking. They begin avoiding longer walks. A few months later, they avoid stairs whenever possible. A little later, they stop visiting certain places because they're worried about falling. Eventually, their world becomes smaller. Their activity decreases. Their muscles weaken further. Their confidence drops. And the original problem becomes much worse. What started as a small balance issue eventually becomes a major limitation. This is why movement itself is often part of the solution. Not reckless movement, not dangerous movement, but consistent, appropriate movement. Your body learns through use. The more safely you challenge it, the more opportunities it has to adapt. Now let's talk about something many seniors notice but rarely understand. Have you ever felt like your feet are glued to the floor when you first stand up? Maybe after sitting for a while, those first few steps feel awkward. Maybe your legs feel stiff. Maybe your body seems reluctant to move. This experience is incredibly common after 70. Part of the reason involves joint stiffness. Over time, joints often lose some of their mobility. The tissues surrounding them may become less flexible. When that happens, movement becomes less fluid. Walking can start to feel mechanical instead of natural. People often blame weakness alone, but stiffness can be just as important. A stiff ankle, for example, can dramatically affect how you walk. Most people never think about their ankles, yet every step requires them to move efficiently. When ankle mobility decreases, the body must compensate elsewhere. The knees may work harder. The hips may work harder. Balance may become more challenging. And the overall walking pattern may become less stable. The same is true for the hips. If the hips become stiff, stride length often decreases. Steps become shorter. Movement becomes slower. The body may start drifting from side to side. Many seniors assume these changes are unavoidable signs of aging, when they're actually signs that certain joints need more attention. Another hidden factor is posture. Take a moment and think about how many years you've spent sitting. Sitting at the table. Sitting in the car. Sitting in front of the television. Sitting at a desk. Over decades, these habits can influence posture significantly. Many older adults develop a forward-leaning posture without realizing it. The head moves forward. The shoulders round. The upper back curves. When this happens, the body's center of gravity shifts. And when the center of gravity shifts, balance becomes more difficult. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack on your chest all day long. You'd have to constantly adjust to avoid falling. A forward posture creates a similar challenge. Your body must work harder to stay balanced. This is one reason posture exercises can have such a surprising effect on walking ability. Sometimes improving alignment allows the body to move more efficiently with less effort. But there is another issue that deserves special attention because it affects millions of seniors and is rarely discussed openly. Dehydration. Many older adults don't drink enough water. Some intentionally limit fluids because they worry about frequent bathroom trips. Others simply don't feel thirsty as often as they once did. The problem is that dehydration can affect balance, energy, concentration, blood pressure, and muscle function. Even mild dehydration may contribute to dizziness and instability. If you've ever stood up quickly and felt lightheaded, dehydration may have been part of the story. This is why something as simple as improving hydration habits can sometimes produce noticeable improvements in how people feel throughout the day. Now let's talk about the brain itself. Most people think walking is controlled primarily by the legs. But walking is actually a brain activity just as much as a physical activity. Every step requires planning, coordination, timing, and adjustment. Your brain is constantly processing information. It's monitoring the environment. It's predicting movement. It's making thousands of tiny corrections every minute. As we age, these processes can become less efficient. That doesn't mean the brain is failing. It means the brain may need more practice. One fascinating discovery from neuroscience is that challenging the brain can help maintain mobility. Activities that require coordination, attention, and movement simultaneously can stimulate important neural pathways. That's one reason dancing has attracted so much interest among researchers. Dancing combines movement, balance, memory, coordination, rhythm, and attention all at once. Many studies suggest that activities like dancing may help support both physical and cognitive health. But you don't need to become a dancer. The principle is what's important. The brain thrives on challenge. When movement becomes too predictable and repetitive, the brain receives less stimulation. When movement becomes varied and engaging, the brain often responds positively. This brings us to one of the biggest secrets that almost nobody talks about. Walking problems are often confidence problems disguised as physical problems. That statement surprises many people. Of course, physical issues matter. Strength matters. Balance matters. Vision matters. But confidence matters too. Imagine two people with identical physical abilities. One believes they're fragile. The other believes they're capable. Who do you think moves more naturally? Who takes longer walks? Who stays more active? Who continues challenging themselves? Confidence changes behavior. Behavior changes physical ability. And physical ability influences confidence. It's a cycle. The good news is that positive cycles work the same way. A little improvement creates a little confidence. A little confidence encourages more activity. More activity creates more improvement. Before long, momentum begins working in your favor. That's why celebrating small victories is so important. Maybe today you walked a little farther than last week. Maybe you climbed stairs with less effort. Maybe you felt steadier getting out of a chair. Those improvements matter. They are signs that your body is adapting. Now let's discuss something that many viewers may not expect. Sleep. Poor sleep can dramatically affect balance. When you're tired, reaction times slow. Coordination suffers. Attention decreases. Muscles recover less effectively. The risk of stumbling increases. Unfortunately, sleep problems become more common with age. Many seniors wake frequently during the night. Others struggle to fall asleep. Some spend years accepting poor sleep as normal. But improving sleep quality can have effects that reach far beyond the bedroom. Better sleep often means better energy, better focus, better coordination, better movement, and ultimately better walking. Nutrition also plays a larger role than most people realize. Your muscles require protein. Your nerves require nutrients. Your bones require vitamins and minerals. Without adequate nutrition, the body's ability to maintain strength and function declines. One nutrient that often receives attention is vitamin D. Low vitamin D levels are common among older adults and may contribute to weakness and reduced physical function. Protein intake is another area where many seniors unintentionally fall short. Some people eat less as they age. Others avoid protein-rich foods. Over time, this can accelerate muscle loss. The result may be weaker legs, poorer balance, and increased difficulty walking. Again, the goal isn't perfection. It's awareness. Small nutritional improvements can support the body's efforts to stay strong and mobile. Now I want to address something that many people are thinking right now. You may be wondering whether it's already too late. Maybe you're in your 70s. Maybe your 80s. Maybe you've already noticed significant changes. Maybe you've experienced falls. Maybe you've started using a cane or walker. And perhaps you're thinking, this all sounds good, but can it really help someone like me? The answer is that improvement is possible at almost any age. The amount of improvement varies from person to person. Nobody can promise specific results. But countless older adults have surprised themselves with what they were able to regain. Not because they found a miracle cure. Not because they discovered some secret supplement. But because they consistently addressed the factors that were limiting them. They strengthened their muscles. They improved their balance. They challenged their brains. They moved more often. They practiced confidence. They took small steps forward day after day. And those small steps added up. That's really the hidden truth behind mobility after 70. Most people are looking for one big solution. One magic exercise. One miracle treatment. One quick fix. But lasting improvement usually comes from addressing multiple pieces of the puzzle. Because walking itself is a whole body activity. Your muscles matter. Your joints matter. Your eyes matter. Your ears matter. Your nerves matter. Your brain matters. Your confidence matters. Everything works together. And when you begin improving several areas simultaneously, the results can be surprisingly powerful. But we're not finished yet. Because there's one final reason many seniors lose the ability to walk straight after 70, and it's probably the most overlooked factor of all. It's hiding in plain sight, affecting millions of people every day, and understanding it may completely change the way you think about aging and mobility. That final factor is something so common that most people never question it. They assume it's normal. They assume it's unavoidable. They assume everyone experiences it. And because of that, they never realize how much influence it has over their ability to walk confidently. That factor is inactivity. Not complete inactivity. Not being bedridden. Not spending every day in a chair. I'm talking about the subtle reduction in movement that happens year after year. A little less walking. A few fewer errands. A little less gardening. A few fewer trips outside. A little less climbing stairs. A little less standing. A little less movement overall. Each individual change seems insignificant. But over time, the effects compound. The body adapts to whatever demands are placed upon it. If those demands decrease, the body's capacity often decreases too. This is one of the reasons why two people of the same age can look completely different when they walk. One person may move with confidence, energy, and stability. Another may appear cautious, stiff, and unsteady. Chronological age isn't always the determining factor. Lifestyle often plays a major role. The body remembers what it practices. If you regularly challenge your muscles respond. If you regularly challenge your balance responds. If you regularly challenge your endurance responds. The opposite is also true. When movement becomes increasingly limited, the body adapts downward. And here's what makes inactivity especially dangerous. The effects often occur so gradually that people don't notice them. Imagine losing 1% of your strength every month. You probably wouldn't notice, but after several years, the difference would be enormous. That's exactly how many mobility problems develop. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day the changes become impossible to ignore. You might notice it when getting out of a chair. You might notice it while carrying groceries. You might notice it while stepping off a curb. Or perhaps you notice that you're no longer walking in a straight line. The good news is that the same principle can work in your favor. Small improvements compound too. A few extra minutes of walking each day. A few strength exercises several times per week. A few balance exercises while holding onto a sturdy support. A few mobility exercises for stiff joints. These actions may seem small in the moment, but months later they can create meaningful change. One of the most inspiring things about healthy aging is that progress often arrives where people least expect it. I've heard countless stories from older adults who assumed their mobility would continue declining forever. They believed the trajectory was fixed. They thought there was nothing they could do. Then they began making small changes. At first, the changes felt insignificant. A few more steps each day. A few minutes of exercise. A little extra attention to posture. A little extra focus on strength. Weeks passed, then months, and gradually they started noticing things. Standing up became easier. Walking felt smoother. Stairs became less intimidating. Confidence returned. Not all at once, but steadily. The transformation wasn't dramatic from day to day. It was noticeable from month to month. That's an important lesson because we live in a world obsessed with quick results. People want immediate improvement, immediate transformation, immediate success. But the body often works differently, especially after 70. The most meaningful changes frequently come from consistency rather than intensity. You don't have to become an athlete. You don't need extreme workouts. You don't need to spend hours exercising every day. What matters most is giving your body regular reasons to stay capable. Regular reasons to stay strong. Regular reasons to stay balanced. Regular reasons to stay mobile. Think about how remarkable your body really is. For decades, it has carried you through life, through work, through family responsibilities, through challenges, through celebrations, through countless ordinary days and extraordinary moments. Every step you've ever taken has required an incredible coordination of systems working together. Even now, despite the changes that come with aging, your body remains capable of adaptation. That truth is worth remembering, because many people focus exclusively on what they've lost. They focus on what isn't as easy as it used to be. They focus on limitations. And while those challenges are real, they don't tell the whole story. The whole story includes potential. The whole story includes possibility. The whole story includes the fact that improvement remains available far longer than most people realize. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You sit on the edge of the bed. You stand up. You feel steady. You walk across the room without hesitation. You move with confidence instead of caution. You don't spend every step worrying about losing your balance. You trust your body. You trust your movements. You trust yourself. That feeling is incredibly valuable. Because mobility isn't just about movement. Mobility is freedom. It's independence. It's the ability to go where you want to go, to say who you want to see, to participate in the activities you enjoy, to remain engaged with life. When walking becomes difficult, people often lose more than mobility. They lose opportunities. They lose experiences. They lose confidence. Sometimes they lose pieces of their independence. That's why addressing these issues matters so much. This isn't simply about walking straighter. It's about protecting quality of life. It's about maintaining the freedom to live on your own terms. And that's exactly why the real fix no one talks about isn't a pill. It isn't a gadget. It isn't a miracle cure. The real fix is understanding that walking is a whole body skill. It's the product of strength, balance, mobility, vision, coordination, confidence, nutrition, sleep, and consistent movement all working together. When you improve those areas, you give your body the tools it needs to perform better. You create conditions for improvement. You create opportunities for progress. You create momentum. And momentum is powerful. Maybe you're watching this because you've already noticed changes in your walking. Maybe you've started drifting to one side. Maybe you feel less stable. Maybe you've had a few close calls. Or maybe you're simply trying to stay ahead of the problem before it begins. Wherever you are, remember this. The goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't moving exactly like you did at 30. The goal is preserving and improving function as much as possible. The goal is maintaining independence. The goal is staying active, capable, and engaged. The goal is giving yourself the best chance to continue doing the things you love. And that journey begins with awareness. Awareness leads to action. Action leads to improvement. Improvement leads to confidence. And confidence often leads to even more improvement. So if you've been telling yourself that walking difficulties are simply part of getting older and there's nothing you can do about them, I hope today's conversation has given you a different perspective. Aging certainly changes the body. That's true, but aging does not automatically mean surrendering your mobility. It does not automatically mean giving up your independence. And it does not automatically mean accepting every decline as inevitable. Your body is still listening to what you ask of it. Your muscles are still listening. Your brain is still listening. Your balance systems are still listening. The question is, what message are you sending them each day? Are you giving them reasons to stay strong? Reasons to stay active? Reasons to stay capable? Because every step you take is a vote for the future version of yourself. Every walk, every exercise, every healthy choice, every effort to remain active. Those choices matter. They accumulate. They shape what your body can do tomorrow, next month, and next year. And perhaps that's the most important message of all. If you've started having trouble walking straight after 70, don't assume the story is over. Don't assume you've reached the end of what's possible. Don't assume that decline is the only direction available. There may be more strength left to build, more balance left to gain, more confidence left to recover, more mobility left to reclaim. And the sooner you begin working on those areas, the greater the opportunity to influence your future. So the next time you take a walk, pay attention. Notice how your body moves. Notice how your feet connect with the ground. Notice your posture. Notice your confidence. Notice your habits. Because awareness is often the first step toward change. And sometimes the difference between decline and improvement begins with one simple decision: refusing to accept that losing your ability to walk straight is just something that has to happen. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this conversation helped you understand your body a little better, make sure you stay connected because there are many more ways to support healthy aging, maintain independence, and keep moving confidently for years to come. Remember, every step matters, every day matters, and it's never too late to invest in the strength, balance, and mobility that help you live life on your terms.